Hello, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. Our top stories. Conditional MCO. Spouses living apart from families to get once-a-week trip home. And TNB introduces relief package for residential customers. Spouses who live apart from their families are now allowed to travel across states once a week. Senior Minister for Security Cluster Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said police permission must be obtained for travel and applicants are to report to the nearest police station.
Kita bersetuju kerana mereka weekend husband, suami hari Minggu, isteri hari Minggu untuk balik berjumpa dengan suami atau isteri dibenarkan 1 minggu sekali untuk mereka mengunjungi atau berjumpa dengan suami, isteri dan atau keluarga mereka, anak-anak dan sebagainya. Tetapi mesti juga melaporkan kepada pihak polis untuk mendapatkan kebenaran.
On another matter, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said that equestrian centres can now operate to ensure the welfare of the horses are taken care of. This includes the feeding of the animals and cleaning of the stables. And this on foreign spouses of Malaysians and their family members with permanent resident or PR status or long-term social visit passes. They are required to pay for their mandatory quarantine hotel bill upon returning to Malaysia. If they fail to do so, the Immigration Department will revoke their special privileges.
Contoh, untuk renew pas mereka mungkin selama ini mungkin 2 tahun atau 3 tahun sekali mereka perlu renew. Selepas ini mungkin 3 bulan atau 4 bulan sekali mereka mesti renew pas lautan mereka. Jadi segala keistimewaan yang diberikan oleh Jabatan Immigration kepada mereka ini ditarik balik sehingga mereka membayar segala kos tertunggak mereka dengan hotel-hotel tersebut.
He emphasised, however, that the government is not revoking their PR status or their social visit passes. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, who is also Defence Minister, said the Attorney General will also be looking into action that can be taken against those who do not pay their quarantine bill. On another note, the Senior Minister said construction sites that resume work must have a safety and health officer on site. Failure to do so will result in the government shutting down their site.
Antara syarat utama sebelum tapak binaan dibenarkan beroperasi adalah untuk memastikan adanya pegawai keselamatan dan kesihatan disediakan. Jadi itu syarat utama. Sebelum mereka buka, mereka mesti ada safety officer dia ataupun pegawai keselamatan dan kesihatan. Tanpanya, tapak binaan tidak dibenarkan dibuka.
The Senior Minister said the Construction Industry Development Board, or CIDB, had inspected 191 construction sites on Wednesday. 28 were found to be following the standard operating procedures set, while 8 did not. Another 155 sites were found not to be operational. So far, a total of 3,735 sites have been inspected. 344 were found to be following the SOP, while 122 were not in compliance and given warnings. Another 8 sites were ordered to be shut down for violation of the SOP. A total of 3,265 sites were also found not to be operational. Starting May 15th, Friday prayers and other congregational prayers can be performed at all mosques and suraus in the federal territories and states in green zones. However, they must follow strict standard operating procedures, SOPs set by the Health Ministry and the National Security Council.
The move to allow 88 mosques in the FT to reopen for prayers was made following consent by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah.
Supaya semua masjid, surau Jumaat dan surau-surau terpilih boleh mendirikan solat Jumaat bermula esok lah, hari Jumaat. Solat berjemaah setiap waktu juga terpakai selepas daripada solat Jumaat itulah, termasuk solat tarawih dan solat sunat hari raya Aidilfitri. Lain-lain solat secara berjemaah di masjid, surau jemaah dan surau-surau terpilih dalam tempoh PKPB boleh dilaksanakan secara berperingkat bermula selepas solat Jumaat pada 15 Mei 2020 Masihi.
The SOPs include the requirement to observe social distancing, practice sanitizing, and get details of congregation members for record purposes. Members of the congregation were also required to bring their own prayer mats and take ablution at home before going to the mosques. It was also decided that the number of people in the congregation should not be less than 3, not including the imam, and not more than 30 people at any one time. Those with diseases, including diabetes and high blood pressure, are still not allowed to perform congregational prayers at the mosques just yet. However, the move did not apply to all the states, as they need to follow decisions made by the respective state's religious department on the advice of the health authorities. Several states have already issued their own SOPs, such as allowing congregational prayers only at selected mosques and surau with limited people. So far, only Pulau Pinang decided to stick to the old guidelines of not allowing congregational prayers for now.
The veterinary department has tested samples of whole chicken from the chicken meat processing factory in Pedas, Negeri Sembilan that has been identified as a COVID-19 cluster and found no evidence that the meat had been contaminated by the virus. The meat samples taken on May 9th were tested and the results returned negative. The department added that scientific studies carried out has proven that animals such as cows, goats, pigs and chicken did not transmit COVID-19 viruses to humans. The meat processing factory in Pedas was ordered to be temporarily closed from May 7th to May 20th after the Health Ministry confirmed that several workers from the factory had tested positive for the virus on May 9th. A new COVID-19 cluster has been identified involving a madrasah in Solok Duku, Melaka, where 4 out of 107 individuals from the madrasah screened so far have tested positive. This has raised concerns that there could be more positive cases among madrasah and tahfiz students.
Setakat ini seramai 107 pelajar, guru dan ahli keluarga telah disaring di mana 2 kes positif COVID-19 di kalangan 35 orang pelajar, tiada kes positif di kalangan 10 guru dan kaki tangan madrasah, 2 kes positif COVID-19 di kalangan 62 ahli keluarga, guru, kaki tangan dan pelajar.
He said the Health Ministry was concerned that from the screenings done on the various madrasah and tahfiz clusters, 539 of 635 who tested positive for COVID-19 did not have any respiratory symptoms. This could result in a wider spread of the virus if preventive action was not taken. Dr. Noor Hisham called madrasah and tahfiz students who have returned home to parents to go to the district health office, health clinic or hospital to get tested for the virus. As for students who have yet to return home, they have been instructed to remain at their respective madrasah and tahfiz and also contact the district health office or health clinic.
Tenaga Nasional Berhad, TNB, is introducing a relief package for its 7.5 million residential customers. It comprises an easy payment plan, waiver of interest on late payment and an extended halt of disconnection. Its president and CEO, Datuk Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan, said the utility company is aware of its residential customers' growing concern over a possible spike in their bills once the actual meter reading is done. This is due to the suspension of meter reading and the prolonged Movement Control Order, MCO. The package will be automatically available for all residential customers from the first actual monthly bill that they receive after TNB resumes meter reading operations from May 15th. TNB temporarily halted physical meter reading during the MCO and replaced it with estimated bills based on the previous month's bill account. Customers will gradually receive actual bills where adjustments will be made to the previous estimate bills to reflect actual usage. The waiver of interest on late payment is until September 30th, while the suspension of disconnection activities is until July 31st. The Johor state government plans to establish the Johor Investment Co or JICO in Singapore as part of the efforts to improve bilateral relationship with the Republic. Menteri Besar Datuk Hasni Mohamad said the establishment of JICO is aimed for this year to help improve and ease trade between the two sides post-COVID-19.
According to Datuk Hasni, the state government has already submitted its proposal for the setting up of JICO to Wisma Putra, the International Trade and Industry Ministry, as well as the Malaysian High Commission in Singapore. Speaking to the media after the opening of the third session of the Johor State Assembly, he also said JICO would be headed by an officer from the Johor Civil Service, JCS. He added this will also provide the JCS with the experience of working in an international setting and help attract foreign investors. In a related development, Datuk Hasni also said Johor is currently planning to revive and strengthen the tripartite relations among Singapore, Malaysia and Indonesia, or SIJORI.
Saya telah pun berbincang dan mendapat persetujuan pada dasar oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri untuk mengembalikan semula konsep pembangunan segitiga SIJORI.
He also aimed to hold the first meeting with the representatives from all three countries after Hari Raya Aidilfitri. SIJORI was launched in December 1989 as a tripartite agreement between Singapore, Johor and Riau in Indonesia that seeks to exploit the competitive strengths of the three areas and to attract regional and international investors to the sub-region.
Settlement of several million ringgit. This story when Nightline returns. Stay tuned. We're back on Nightline. The settlement from Datuk Sri Najib Razak's stepson, Riza Shariz Abdul Aziz, following his release from 5 counts of money laundering on Thursday, stands to be at 465.3 million ringgit. According to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, who pointed out, however, that the discharge not amounting to an acquittal granted to Riza does not exclude him from future legal action from prosecutors if a settlement is not reached. In a statement, the anti-graft body said, as a result, the Malaysian government is expected to recover overseas assets involved in the offence, which is estimated at 465.3 million ringgit. It said, based on the agreement, the accused is required to pay a compound to the government under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, which is punitive as an alternative to the charges that have been brought against him. This comes after Riza was reported granted the discharge not amounting to an acquittal at the Kuala Lumpur Sessions Court earlier on Thursday. On July 5th last year, Riza, who is also co-founder of the Hollywood production house Red Granite Pictures, was charged with 5 counts of money laundering under the Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act 2001. Radio announcer and actor Patrick Teo was released on police bail today. He was previously remanded by police to help in investigations over an allegedly insulting Facebook posting he had made about the Tengku Mahkota Johor, Tunku Ismail Sultan Ibrahim. Teo was arrested in Petaling Jaya on May 9th in Petaling Jaya and sent to Johor, where he was remanded for 4 days until May 12th. His remand was then extended again for 2 more days and ended on Thursday. In Kedah, 8 individuals were remanded from today until May 20th over false claims amounting to 180,000 ringgit. The remand order was issued by Alor Magistrate Court's Assistant Registrar, Rashida Azmi, to facilitate Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC's investigations into the case. The suspects, aged 39 to 45 years, were 5 engineering staff of a factory, as well as a Filipino employee and 2 managers of a supply company. They were detained at the Kulim High Technology Park and at the State MACC office in Alor on Wednesday. All suspects were believed to have made false claims regarding the supply of machine parts between August and October last year. The case is being investigated under the MACC Act.
Elsewhere, 8 individuals, including 3 women, were remanded by the Selayang Magistrates Court in Selangor over an alleged video recording showing child abuse and exploitation at a welfare home in Taman Bidara, Selayang. Magistrate Nur Hafizah Rajuni granted the remand order from Thursday until Sunday to assist police investigations into the case. Gombak Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Arifai Tarawai said all the suspects aged between 18 and 65 were nabbed in the district at about 9 p.m. on Wednesday. Prior to this, a police report was lodged by a local woman who used to stay at the welfare home after the video recording had gone viral on social media. Statements from 36 witnesses were recorded by police to facilitate the investigation under the Child Act.
Over in Kelantan, police have arrested 3 people believed to be drug dealers, including a Thai woman, during 2 separate raids in Rantau Panjang on Wednesday. The 6:45 a.m. operation also saw the seizure of a .22 caliber rifle with a scope and 129 bullets. Kelantan Police Chief Datuk Hasanuddin Hassan said the raids were carried out in Tasik Cina and Kampung Banggul Merbok, Ingwal Sito. Authorities also seized 800 amphetamine pills, 3 bottles of heroin, a packet of shabu, 2 cars and 5 motorcycles, all worth 212,000 ringgit. It was believed that the rifle was used for protection during their drug sale transactions. He added both men also had past criminal records. All 3 suspects, aged between 27 and 42, have been remanded until Tuesday to facilitate investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. Whereas in Perak, residents of Taman Silibin Indah, Ipoh, are worried after 8 homes in their neighbourhood were affected by a landslide. Homes have started cracking because of the landslide.
The movement at the slope happened suddenly at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, bringing down a tree next to a house. According to residents, this was the first time in 10 years that such a serious incident happened.
Anak-anak saya dan isteri saya sedang buat kuih. In fact, diorang tengok, diorang cakap diorang dah pening sebab pokok moving. Pokok moving. Anak saya cakap, mak, kenapa ibu, kenapa pokok bergerak? Ya, aku pening ke sebab puasa kan? Tengok bila tengok depan, dia silent. Dia silent, dia tak bunyi apa-apa, dia terus.
Meanwhile, the authorities have started monitoring the area. Kinta District Officer Haliza Sipun said the landslide happened because of a slope failure. The banks of the Tambun River, however, remained stable and there was no movement. Short-term measures taken were to cover the slope with canvas and remedial works on the Tambun River. Chlorine tests were also being carried out as underground water flow was also detected. In the long term, the Works Department will propose to build a retention wall in the future to strengthen the slope.
Coming up after this breather, risky evacuation for tens of thousands. Do stay tuned. We move on to the foreign front. A truck packed with explosives blew up in front of the Defence Ministry building in the eastern Afghan city of Gardez on Thursday, killing at least 5 people and wounding 46 others in an attack claimed by Taliban militants. According to local authorities, the explosion occurred at morning rush hour, roughly at around 8:30 a.m. local time. It is understood that the terrorist had detonated the truck in front of the gate after his effort to assault the facility was intercepted by army soldiers. All those killed were civilians, while at least 5 army soldiers were among the injured. The blast also caused massive destruction, destroying several nearby buildings, shops and vehicles. The incident came after a violent week in which gunmen attacked a maternity hospital in Kabul, killing 24 people, including new mothers and newborn babies, on Tuesday. A powerful typhoon hit the central Philippines on Thursday, forcing a complicated and risky evacuation for tens of thousands already hunkered down at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a national weather agency, Typhoon Vongfong made landfall at 12:15 a.m. local time in the province of Northern Samar, carrying winds of 150 kilometers per hour with gusts of up to 185 kilometers per hour and heavy rains. Due to the twin threat of the storm and COVID-19, evacuation centres reportedly will only accept half their capacity, and all evacuees will have to wear face masks. Following the surge of people and limited space, authorities have also asked dozens of big churches in the area to accept people fleeing the typhoon, the first of the season. Forecasters predicted that it could dump torrential rains by Saturday across a wide area of the Philippines, including possibly Luzon, the country's largest island. To date, the country has reported 772 deaths and 11,618 cases of the COVID-19 virus, though the number is believed to be higher due to limited testing. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe lifted a state of emergency for 39 of the country's 47 prefectures on Thursday, as the country strives to balance the damage to the economy from prolonged shutdowns and the need to stem the spread of COVID-19. However, urban regions such as Tokyo and Osaka and 6 other prefectures will remain under restrictions until there is a convincing containment of the virus. According to Abe, the 39 prefectures have reached a point where the further spread of the virus can be averted, adding that they have the capacity to provide sufficient medical care and perform virus tests. Abe also said he would begin work on a second extra budget and that the government would take more steps to ease corporate funding strains if needed. As of Thursday, Japan has more than 16,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus, with about 680 deaths.
Meanwhile, in the neighbouring country, Singapore's total number of COVID-19 cases has surpassed the 26,000 mark after 752 new cases were detected on Thursday. The Health Ministry said the vast majority of the new cases were once again foreign workers living in dorms, while only 2 cases were Singaporeans or permanent residents. It was also understood that 958 patients were discharged from hospitals or community care facilities on Wednesday, taking the total number of discharge to 4,809 as of May 13th. In the meantime, the Indonesian government on Thursday announced 568 new confirmed cases of the COVID-19, bringing the total number of infections in the archipelagic country to 16,006. According to the government spokesperson Ahmad Yuryanto, there were also 15 new deaths, taking the total number of fatalities to 1,043. It is understood that as many as 231 more people have been discharged from hospitals, taking the total number of recovered patients to 3,518. Over in China, some residential compounds in Wuhan have begun testing inhabitants for the coronavirus as a program to test everyone in the Chinese city of 11 million people in 10 days got underway. The mass tests were conducted after 6 new cases surfaced last weekend, the first infections there in more than a month.
Now let's take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers for Friday, May 15th. Congressional prayers allowed at mosques and surau is the top story of the New Straits Times. The same is also focused in Harian Metro and Berita Harian, and that includes Tarawih and Aidilfitri prayers. As for the Malaysian Reserve, its top story is targeted COVID-19 screenings on migrant workers. Do get your copies today or subscribe to the e-paper versions. That's it for Nightline this time around. Let's have a little light-hearted news. In Japan, a sea lion at the Yokohama Hakejima Sea Paradise Park amazed the audiences by showing off its drawing skills using a paintbrush placed in its mouth. I'm Anita Boom. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.